I said to my son, why do teenage girls walk in groups of 3, 5, and 7? He said, this is such an odd joke. I said, no, dummy. It's because they literally can't even.
Hey, fun fans, it's We Enjoy. Get ready to hop aboard the Pork Chop Express this week for the main event featuring Big Trouble in Little China.
Little China.
Little China. From 1986, starring Kurt Russell, directed by John Carpenter, and one of our childhood favorites. Mm-hmm. We are going to play a game later on in the main event called Is It Great or Were We Just 8? Is it notable or is it just quotable? I'm pretty sure it holds up. Spoiler alert. I think we still love it. And then next week, continuing our Kurt Russell marathon here, we're going to be doing Tombstone, a movie I just found out right before we hit the record button that Eric hasn't seen in a couple decades. It's just not one that's been in his rotation.
Nope.
And that just happens to people, right? Even if you love movies, even if there's just some great movies that escape rotation. I think for a lot of people who like Tombstone, it's just one of those things you revisit every few years, or it's just on in the background as background fodder. But
I'm well aware. I mean, we'll talk more about this obviously next week. I'm well aware, like the specific cult of this movie, down to the fact that if you watch the Val Kilmer documentary, it shows him going to like a sort of Tombstone convention where they're showing Tombstone, at night, and it's like a big thing.
Well, fortunately, there's like a lot. Like Wyatt Earp and the Gunfight at the OK Corral has its own built-in fandoms and previous movies and adaptations as well. But I will say that when we get to Tombstone next week, it will be a great time to circle back to troubled productions that lead to great movies.
Yeah.
Instead of everyone always like thinking like movies are delayed and someone got fired and they were replaced. And it's like, oh, the movie's going to be terrible. They're writing the script as they go along. Well, it only really matters if the movie sucks.
Yeah.
If the movie's really good and you don't notice it, like in the case of Die Hard or Tombstone, everyone just shuts the fuck up about it. All right.
Yeah. When a movie is bad or when we think it's going to be bad, everything that they say, like you just mentioned, they're rewriting as they go along and there's trouble behind the scenes and they've changed up this can be said about a million movies you love. And
including really all the Mission Impossible movies now, which are written on the fly. So
yes,
and we love those movies. So we are the Mattitude Eric, just two reasonable guys who are about to experience some very unreasonable things with our main event today. I am Matt Fowler. Say hello, Eric Goldman.
Greetings and salutations, everyone.
And this movie, I just want to talk about the movie right now. Big Trouble in Little China is. I'm trying to think of a movie. I'm sure there is one. It's just not readily at the forefront of my brain right now. That I quote as much, if not more, but this is one of the top movies in my mental Rolodex. Lol. Look, I'm 46. That I just quote.
What's a Rolodex?
I have so much of this movie, not just the script memorized in my head because I've seen it so much. But just, it's so quotable. There are just so many pull-out lines from this movie that I love a lot.
This is a mid-level one for me. We talked about how Tombstone's one that I never really went back to. And obviously, there's, especially for me and you, there's movies that we've watched a million times. Big Trouble in Little China is kind of in the middle, right? Like I revisit it every couple of years and I always like it. It's always there for me.
But what was it like for you? Again, this could all be saved for the main event, but apparently not. What was it like for you, Eric, in the 80s, though? This one was a constant re-rental for me. Like I was watching this on VHS tape all the time.
I watched it on, I saw it in the theater. I vividly remember seeing it in the theater because I saw it at the Sherman Oaks General Cinema with my friend Colin and my babysitter Jean and very sweet elderly woman who walked out about a third of the way through, said she'd be in the lobby.
Did she say, this is a crazy movie?
It's like, no, she just was kind of like, I'll be in the lobby. She was not vibing with Big Trouble in Little China. But we very much enjoyed it. But like I said, it wasn't one of my favorites. So I watched it on cable if it was on. It was one of those movies that was on cable a lot, and I'd revisit it. But it wasn't like purposely seeking it out that much. I actually came to appreciate it more, I think, later on. I liked it as a kid, and then I came to really kind of get into it more later on.
Okay, for our entertainment news this week, we're going to talk about 2 trailers. No actual big news rolling down the pike, but 2 trailers hit. We'll talk about them. One was
both from the Walt Disney Company,
which at this point
passes our main event now.
yeah. Like I was gonna say, at this point, the odds are if a trailer is released, it's something that Walt Disney owns in some capacity.
Right.
So, some business up front. You can find us on Twitter at the Matt Fowler, the Eric Goldman. The podcast is at We Enjoy Podcast. You can email us at weenjoypodcast@gmail.com. Over on Patreon, for a paltry fee, you can get a commercial-free version of this podcast, so you can hear us uninterrupted. And please go to Apple Podcasts, previously iTunes, and give us a 5-star Frog Splash rating and write something funny and clever and nice and lovely about us, so that other people can seek us out and find us and see these awesome reviews and check us out.
I think sometimes about how these little remnants of this being a full wrestling podcast once, with Matitude Eric and 5-star Frog Splash, like the terminology. By the way, it's fine. I like it. I just think it's funny that I'm like, oh, there's these these remnants of it being all wrestling.
Yeah, and look, there's always stuff that sometimes I feel like there's notable things we could bring up on this podcast just from a pop culture standpoint, but we do try to keep the wrestling stuff just to the occasional We Enjoy Wrestling podcast that we do. Kind of quarterly, unless
we did 2 of them the past month.
know, so we're good for the rest of the year, honestly. Right. So the first trailer we're going to talk about is Marvel's Hawkeye, which came out this past weekend. And remind me of the date. When does this start up?
November 24th.
So the end of November. So it'll be the Thanksgiving week, Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
And it really will take us right through the end of the year, 6 episodes. So yeah, it's going to be all right. End of the year Marvel.
Everything from the trailer looks super fun. I think Eric and I are both in agreement that not only do we enjoy the Christmas theme of it all, but the fact that Christmas theme is paired with a sort of a Shane Black movie, action movie, buddy movie mentality, giving the entire thing a huge Shane Black vibe. I know that it's actually borrowing heavily from the Matt Fraction and David Aja comic book, which has that tone as well. But just having something like that, a Shane Black style merged with Christmas, I'm all in and I love it. And it feels very lighthearted. That's not to say that it's a complete screwball comedy, but I think it's, especially given the storyline Hawkeye is coming out of in Infinity War and Endgame.
Yes,
to see him in sort of a caper. I think it's really fun.
I dug this trailer. And a lot of people were saying, and I agree, that it looks like Shane Black meets Matt Fraction. Matt Fraction, wrote this very beloved run of the comic book only about 10 years ago. It's pretty recent, or even less, that was all about teaming up Clint Barton and Kate Bishop as his protege, and very down to earth, was very purposely like, we're going to take Hawkeye away from the Avengers, away from big stuff. He rarely wears a costume. He's just hanging out in New York with this girl with attitude who is a badass as well. And so we already kind of knew that they were doing that. But I think the big surprise to people, was the even though there were set pictures that showed that there was a Christmas setting, you didn't know till you saw the trailer, it's going to be a full Christmas action story. Which, yes, of course, makes you think of Shane Black has just the buddy dynamic.
Right. The buddy scenario, sort of the bickering, butting heads and stuff like that. But as far as Matt Fraction goes, it's not just like, it's taking a lot from it. Not just Kate Bishop and Lucky the Pizza Dog, but like the Tracksuit Mafia.
Yes.
And the cuts and bruises all over his face and stuff like that. The hallmarks of that comic that people... if they made a wish list of what they could see in this series from that comic, they seem to be all in there. So, and I will just say that the bulk I am assuming that the bulk of the footage we saw in this trailer was from the first 2 episodes.
Probably, yes.
And
yes.
so this is not taking us through everything because, Yelena was teased for this show. And it'll be very, very odd if she doesn't show up in some capacity, if not just in the final 2 episodes or even the final episode. But at some point, this story that he's having with Kate Bishop is going to intersect with Yelena and Natasha's death, and possibly get a bit heavier. So
yeah, the Yelena of it all is funny because it's that funny Marvel Studios game of is Florence Pugh in the show? Yes, she is. Like the trades broke it like a year ago when they broke all these other actors, Vera Farmiga, like all these people, the supporting cast were broken at the same time. But pointedly, Marvel Studios then didn't mention Florence Pugh when they announced everyone else officially last December. They didn't mention her. But Florence Pugh is pretty much confirmed she's in it anyway. The tease at the end of Black Widow pretty much told you story-wise she kind of has to be. But officially, she's not on that cast list. So it's the little game they play. She will show up. She might be in 1 episode, like have a big part of 1 episode, or she might be in 2 episodes.
Exactly.
But also, I think you're right either way because Echo, who we know who is officially announced for this show,
we saw and who we did briefly see in the trailer.
Yeah, but we only briefly see her. That's another big character from the comics who word is not officially announced, but word is she's getting a spinoff that they're already developing, who has kind of Taskmaster type abilities. But yeah, I think the other thing about the tone and will darkness come in? I think it will for sure. Also because Kevin Feige had previously mentioned how that this show was going to kind of delve into Clint's time as Ronin in those 5 years that we really know almost nothing about, not just for Clint, but like for the MCU, we skipped them literally. And it's kind of some show will probably be set in that time at some point, right? Maybe multiple shows. But we saw in the trailer the past coming up, coming after him. I made a lot of enemies. So we're going to get more info on that time.
Which is good because those last 2 Avengers movies didn't have time for everyone's story,
Right. And that also speaks, by the way, to something, I don't know your feelings on this, Matt.
I hate it.
Okay. Do people have different opinions. So some say yes. Yeah. Do you, because I'll say what I think, like Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye previous to this. And I like him a lot as Hawkeye. First of all, I like him as an actor. Second of all, I've liked him in the moments he's gotten, even though I understand why he's easy to dismiss because he's never gotten as much depth as the other 6 of the original movie Avengers. He literally was brainwashed for most of that first movie. And he has the easiest to make fun of ability skill set, even though you could say Natasha is also just a person with skills. It's easier to make fun of the guy with the bow and arrow. But I liked when he gets moments, I think they're really good ones. And I think Age of Ultron, which is a very flawed movie with very good moments, has that great part where he gives the speech to Wanda at the end, which is also a self-deprecating, I'm a guy with a bow and arrow facing this insane thing. I think he has a lot of great, like fun little moments, but he's never really had his time to shine. But I think that's what's so great about these shows. We've talked about them before, like even with Wanda and Vision, who had moments. This will be, they weren't going to do a Hawkeye movie, but now he's going to get more than he would have gotten in a movie. He's going to get.
No, I know exactly. Why are you asking me the question? Do people not like him?
Some people don't. Some people.
Who cares? Who cares about them?
Some of it also.
Who cares about them?
Some of them, but some of it also has to do with Renner's off-screen persona, which is easy to make fun of, and he can come off as
I know, but then we can get into the whole like people who strangely hate Chris Pratt thing.
Yeah,
like, and how that's sort of blown out of proportion on Twitter.
Sure.
And then that bleeds into their appreciation of Star-Lord himself.
Right.
Who gives a shit? So. Maybe burying the full lead here is that we are going to get to see actual musical numbers from Rogers the Musical, which was a huge breakout part from that trailer. Not just seeing the marquee, the theater itself playing Rogers the Musical, but like the full Invasion of New York Avengers like moment on stage while they're there.
Yes,
and someone playing Hawkeye, and there's a moment where he's in a suit. So I think he's like going to the premiere or going to a showing of this play.
Well, we see him with his kids outside. So yeah, it's like he takes his kids to see it.
What is the situation there? He's talking to someone named Babe on the phone. So we're assuming everything's still good with him and Linda Cardellini. But he's seeing his kids, but his kids are being taken away with like bodyguards in a giant black SUV. Is like Shield letting him see his kids because he's a fugitive?
No, okay.
Is he a fugitive?
I don't think he's a fugitive at all. He helped save the world, no way, and he literally helped bring back half of humanity. He's not a fugitive. I'm guessing that it's just him and his kids are in New York for the holidays. There's some reason they'll say that his wife isn't with him. Probably the real reason is Linda Cardellini's filming her Netflix show. She'll appear on this phone a couple times. I'm guessing. But then shit goes down. He needs to get his kids to safety. I do think he calls in Shield or some old favors. Here's where I'll do a little internet detective, because Jeremy Renner's even posted pictures of Hawkeye with a what do you call it? His arrow sheath, his arrow bag, quiver. Thank you. And it's got a Shield logo on it. So I think he gets old equipment of his because he used to be a Shield guy. So I think it's like something happens where gets his kids to safety. He doesn't have his like cool modern gear, but he gets old gear that was like when he was a younger Shield agent and ends up using that at some point in this project.
All right, Snoops Goldman.
And Cardellini probably has like one scene with him at the end or something. And you'll see her on a phone or two.
She shows up like Nick Fury in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 1 finale, and she's not filming scenes with anyone else.
Right.
Just cuts away. And
also, like the Rogers the Musical thing is very fun, and it's a funny thing that they can do in these movies, especially now that there are so many of them. Is like seed in like the little things about how the world would change with all these people, like in Spider-Man Far From Home, when we saw the documentaries about like Wakanda and Tony Stark that were choices on his flight.
I think a lot of that even started with Homecoming, with seeing Captain America PSAs.
Yes.
And it actually would be funny to see, like, I don't know how they would do this or what format it would be in, but like deeper exploration of like how the MCU world's pop culture is affected by everything that's been happening. Like there's a musical, but have they made movies within the movies of these characters?
Well, that's like The Boys, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
All that stuff. The comic books, by the way, that one of the weirdest meta things that happened in the 80s. I don't know if you were reading Captain America at this point, Matt, was when Steve Rogers, who still had a secret identity, it still wasn't like the world knew that Captain America, the movies have done away with so much of the secret identity stuff. But in the comics, where people didn't know Steve Rogers, Captain America, and he was an artist, which is in the movies never got into that. In the first movie, he's like sketching a little, but they never delved into the fact that he's like kind of very into art in the comics. But he got a job in the comics as an artist for Marvel Comics, drawing the Captain America monthly comic they make, where they didn't know that Captain America himself was the artist on the Captain America comic.
That's just silly.
That's comics, man.
That's very, very, just for the record, that's very silly.
It is.
Okay. Let's dig into the trailer that just dropped today as we record this on a Thursday. Technically a teaser, about 1:30. Mm-hmm. And it is for Guillermo del Toro's new movie, Nightmare Alley, which is based on a hit breakout book from 1946, which already actually has a movie adaptation in 1947, because movie star Tyrone Power asked 20th Century Fox to buy the rights to that book right away so that he could play the part that Bradley Cooper plays in the new movie. And so the new movie is based on the book, also, I guess, based on the movie, and a new version of the movie starring Bradley Cooper, Cate Blanchett, Toni Collette, Willem Dafoe, Richard Jenkins, Rooney Mara, Ron Perlman, David Strathairn. I know, what a bunch of bums, right? Like,
right.
Terrible cast.
And this is a big movie for mustaches, I'll tell you.
It's like
Cooper, Dafoe, Strathairn. There's a lot of
I'm just saying it's the Carney scene, Eric.
Sure. I get it. I'm just saying it's a good movie for mustaches.
I wonder when is it supposed to take place? I know the movie was made in 47, the book came out in 46, but maybe it's just the 40s in general. I don't know if it was the 20s or 40s or whatnot. But
by the way, there's a lot of people not in the trailer that are also impressive, like Tim Blake Nelson and Mary Steenburgen and Jim Beaver. So there's just like Jim Beaver. Jim Beaver was in Crimson Peak, so he's a Del Toro player at this point. And who else is in that? Holt McClaney.
Clifton Collins Jr.
Yeah. All sorts of people. Now, this looked really cool to me. I love Del Toro. I've talked. I don't know if I've talked on this podcast before about. I love Del Toro in general. Amazing visualist. I have connected in general more to his Spanish language films. Pan's Labyrinth being my favorite of his movies and just a favorite movie of mine. Love Pan's Labyrinth. But I really I love Shape of Water, and I know it's like it's an easy movie to make fun of because it's the fish sex movie that won Best Picture. But I thought it was great. And obviously that kind of really gave him like the next level in Hollywood. So I love, I joked about the fact that this is a Disney movie. And it definitely seems like people were observing this a lot, that Disney, 20th Century Fox as we knew it is kind of dead. Like it still exists as a Disney brand, and they're going to make Free Guy sequels and they'll make avatars. But it's not going to be what it ever was. But Searchlight kind of will remain what it was, because Searchlight is an Oscar machine, and much more lower budgets, of course. So I am very happy that this is a Searchlight movie that this corner of Disney can be like, yeah, Guillermo del Toro, you can still do your fun, clever, creative, crazy shit. And it looks really cool.
It looks beautiful. That's the other thing. It looks like Crimson Peak and Shape of Water and his other
Crimson
films.
Peak, very underrated, by the way, I would say.
It looks absolutely gorgeous, this film. It's actually also not, I don't think it's supernatural. I think it's just like the Carney scene and scheming and backstabbing and all that stuff. So what happened was that Ron Perlman, while they were filming Del Toro's first feature film, Kronos,
he goes way back with
in '92, gave Del Toro this book.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
And so that's how Del Toro has become a huge fan of it. And so I think in interviews he stated that his film is actually more of a book adaptation than a sort of a reprint of the movie that was made. But yeah, anyway, I'm excited for this film.
I am as well. I will go see it.
You will?
And Rooney Mara threw me for a second. When the first shot of her, I thought it was Thomas and Mackenzie, who's in a bunch of stuff right now too, and I love. But it wasn't. But Rooney Mara is cool too. So that's all I have to say about that.
I guess Rooney will do. We have a email that was delayed from the last episode from Mike in San Antonio. So this week he writes. He wrote a few weeks ago, yo, Ween Joys. Yo, ding dong, man. Ding dong, yo. He doesn't write that. That's from the Weird Al Yankovic fat video. Okay.
I know.
It sounds like you guys appreciate the Alamo Drafthouse experience as much as I do. Being that they've been very upfront about entertaining a respectful audience, I was curious if you've ever seen somebody removed from a Drafthouse theater for breaking their house rules. Seems like there's a potential for quite a public scene, especially here in the Ma Freedoms era. I don't know what's on the docket for the upcoming main event miniseries, but here's hoping there's room for either of my favorite 90s Kurt Russell movies, Executive Decision or Breakdown. Well, we won't spoil for the week after the next one, but next is Tombstone, and maybe one of those will be after that.
You might be happy.
Okay, well, you might hate us forever. So Alamo Drafthouse, one of the things I obviously super appreciate is their no talking policy, and not only no talking, but you don't talk when you order your food. Obviously you can if it's before the movie, but during the movie they have little cards you write your order on. The servers come around and pick up the pieces of paper and they just fill your order accordingly. I have multiple locations here, and there is one that I like going to more than others because the audience gets it. They are an Alamo audience. Now, the more you leave the epicenter of a franchise and an ideology behind that franchise, the more you have to introduce a new demographic and customer base to these rules. As somebody who previously worked for a coffee company based in the Bay Area called Pete's Coffee and Tea, who are opening locations in Los Angeles, there was a lot of having to explain what Pete's was to people who were used to only drinking Starbucks. And so I understand. And then also people who worked in Pete's stores up north would come into our stores and be like, well, that's not how we do it back in Berkeley, stuff like that.
Right.
So there's still growing pains with Alamo Drafthouse because there's the closest location to me, which still isn't open yet, but it's one I don't like. It's one I don't like going to because it's one where people will talk, and it's one where I don't want to have to be the narc, and they tell you in the pre-show, if there's a loud table, write it down and a manager will take care of it. Like literally. So it's funny, like, Eric, what do? Someone's talking next to you and they see you put a little note up and then they're talked to by a manager and they obviously know it was you because you put your little note card up. So then it creates a whole other thing. Anyway,
I'd write on the note, like, bring me a Coke too.
Cover for me. Bring me the buffalo cauliflower, please. So, but I will say this. I have pre-written notes based on how much people were talking during the trailers, because I've been nervous and they talk so much and they won't stop. And I'm like, if they don't care about these trailers, surely they can't care about the feature presentation. Right. So I will write, and it's in the dark, so it's terrible too. I'm like, the people next to me are talking, and I'll write on there like "you're right" or "you're left" to the server, so they know who I'm talking about. And I like tuck it into the little menu area.
Red shirt.
Yes. Kill with extreme prejudice. But I've never had to use it because they do shut up when the movie starts. Now, the closest I've come was when I went and saw Shang-Chi. Now, we were just talking very recently.
Yes.
There was a couple that sat down next to us. The woman was the one who just needed to talk constantly before the movie, during the pre-show, during the trailers. And when the movie, and she talked all during the no talking message. And so, but once the movie started, he's like, okay, we can't talk now. And she did her best. There were times when she just wanted to talk so much, Eric. Like she just had to say so many things. So what this couple did is they took two writing.
She sounds like a Kristen Wiig character. Like that character is not supposed to ruin the surprise.
No, it's totally it. Eric, they wrote each other. They used the order cards to write each other notes.
This is a sketch.
Underneath the table, they had those lights so that you can write your note.
That's amazing.
And they would show them to each other. They would tap each other on the shoulder and they would show them the little messages they wanted to say to each other in lieu of speaking, because they just couldn't not communicate. Like they had to communicate. That was the closest. I mean, and I just appreciated that she did her best. She's like, I won't speak, but I do have to somehow
tell you what I'm thinking.
Let them know what's on my mind.
I cannot wait till after this movie to pass on what I'm thinking about Wenwu and his decision.
Also, very famously, Alamo used to, during their pre-show, play that answering machine recording or voicemail recording from the angry woman who did get kicked out. They don't do it anymore, probably, I don't know, legal reasons, or they just stopped doing it for whatever reasons. But that was one of my first introductions to Draft House in LA. Not having ever been to one, was that recording going around Twitter.
Yes. Same here. That's probably how I first heard of them too. The thing for me is, we only have one Draft House. It's downtown, just to explain geographically. It's not close, and in LA being what it is with the traffic nightmare, it's not easy to get to. I love it. I just can't go as much as I would if it was, 10 minutes away. So I haven't gone. I've gone many times, but not a million times. And I've never had an incident. I say this, I want to say this in a correct way, because I don't want to be like, in LA, there's never a problem with talking in theaters. Of course there is. Of course there's annoying people all the time. But I will say, I think Alamo, especially as the only one in like LA with like, a movie going audience, right now with the one Alamo, it's been pretty good every time I've gone. Not to say, I'm sure there are many times when I haven't been there and something's happened. And eventually it will. But so far, no, I have not seen it happen. I have not had to narc on anyone. But I love everything you're saying, Matt, about pre-writing just in case. And I feel like I'm gonna take a stack of them, and I'm just gonna pre-write them all as I go in, and I'll have some for people to the left of me and some for the people to the right. Like I want that as a sketch. I want the couple who has to communicate. It's all good stuff. But yeah, so far, no for me. We'll see what the future holds as I start going there more again, and if hopefully, knock on, Would we get more Alamos in LA? We'll see what happens down the line.
All right, let's talk about our good things to enjoy for the week. I'm looking at yours right now. Eric.
You did this, right?
What? Yes, I did do it.
No, that's what I thought. So I'm not going to do it.
I thought you were being funny because
I
I know from Twitter that you started watching the show.
I meant to ask because here's the thing. Multiple people in my life, it was just kind of because having a moment. I put the other two. Everyone. Multiple people in my life and around me had suddenly started mentioning this show, which is 2 years old. But
because it came back. It came back
after. and on a platform that a lot of people are doing right now. So I thought, was Matt one of those people? Like I just, but
it wasn't. But Eric, if I recommend something to you, chances are it was on the podcast because that's when we speak the most. So like,
no, but I just didn't remember if we're one of the people. But this is a lesson to me, Matt, but to you too, because I'll ask for help. On my doc I created for our schedule doc is for us to fill in what we've talked about so far because I keep forgetting. And I knew this was gonna. Like I said, I kind of had a 50% guess that this was the case. That I
now I'm actually wondering if I already recommended mine months ago.
I don't think you have.
I'm actually going to check the letterbox list right now and see if it's there.
I don't think you have.
But I'll do my first since now you need to think of it.
Now I need to think of something.
But the fact that you put it on there means I'm glad you're liking it.
I'm definitely enjoying it. I'm almost done with season 1. I've got like 2 episodes left.
Season 2 of episode 2 absolutely fucking murdered me. Like it is amazing. Okay. I'll just say it. I don't want to look at the stupid list right now. I can't even find it. Mine is along the lines of like when I recommended Dr. Sleep, which is like it's not an under the radar movie in the least. But maybe it was kind of a disappointment at the box office. Maybe not a lot of people have checked it out who should, especially with our fan base and our listener base and what they dig. I think I want to talk about this movie mostly because this is one of those miracle movies for me. And also the director, how do you say his last name? Denis Villeneuve?
I've been told many times and I forget every time.
Denis Villeneuve, let's just say that, who's got Dune coming out in a few months. I love Blade Runner 2049 so much. And as somebody who grew up loving and appreciating the first Blade Runner, it was also one of those just standby constant rentals. In the 80s, like what did we rent? We rented Terminator and Aliens and Blade Runner. And I'm thinking of all the sleepovers that we would have with other guys in middle school. And like, these are the movies. So if it wasn't horror movies, these were like the sci-fi movies we'd watch, Blade Runner. Right. But I love Blade Runner 2049 more than the original. And it sounds sacrilegious, but I think a lot of people are in, on Team 2049. It's its own thing, but also I didn't need Harrison Ford in this movie, Eric.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't show up till the third act of the movie, but I didn't need the return of Harrison Ford and Rick Deckard and like the really, really direct ties to the first movie. I was digging it and I still dig it on its own terms. Just Ryan Gosling bebopping around as Kay in this world. And it is, one of the things I know I'll love about Dune. I don't know about other things, but one of the things I know is that it'll look amazing. Like it'll just look great. And Blade Runner 2049 looks and sounds like the sound design and the art direction and the production design are all absolutely incredible. And I love the story. I love the vibe and also my personal aesthetic. And maybe it goes back to loving the original Blade Runner. I'm not even going to call it dystopian. I mean, it is, but like there's worse.
Right.
But I love the future noir aesthetic as far as like the cramped apartments and like the street noodles and like the film noir set in sort of dirty cramped future. And like that's
dirty cramped future.
That's like what I grew up loving. And like I love the dread aesthetic. I would live in peach trees, even though it's apparently a hellscape. But I love it. And so for those who haven't checked out Blade Runner 2049, definitely do so. I think it is a worthy follow-up to the original, which, is sometimes there are just movies that are so acclaimed and revered and untouchable, as it were, that like even to suggest a sequel, much less a decades later sequel, is just unheard of and shouldn't be done. And all, it's something you can easily prejudge. But this movie, I think, over delivered, like, and it really did explode my expectations. And it's got Ryan Gosling, it's got Ana de Armas, it's got Robin Wright, it's got Dave Bautista, it's got Jared Leto being weird.
What?
I know. It's got Polka Dot Man, David Dasmalchian. I think I said
and it's got what's her face, Mackenzie Davis.
Yes, it has Mackenzie Davis as well from
Yeah.
*Halt and Catch Fire* and
Terminator, Dark Fate.
I did not see *Dark Fate*. I really want to see it, but yeah.
Oh well, at some point we'll do the Terminator movies. I love Batista in this movie, especially like it's a small role, but it's like very kind of cool. Like, wow, this really is almost like a character actor in this raging behemoth body.
They actually made a little short about that character.
Yeah, I should check that out. Here's the thing for me is I've never connected to Blade Runner. I admire it, and when I watch it, I'm like, this is gore. And I've watched all the cuts once. I watched the final cut. I showed it to Trish, who'd never seen any version, shortly before 2049 opened. And I remain detached from that movie. It's so gorgeous. It's so kind of groundbreaking. It doesn't really emotionally tie me in. I think I like the sequel better. I've only seen it once. I only saw it in the theater once, saw it in IMAX. It was amazing. But I remember having seen the original shortly before. I was like, yeah, I think the sequel, like, I was more sort of engaged in. I wasn't just like, this is beautiful. This is so cool looking. I was like actually kind of involved in it. Even though it's a slow burn and it's long, those things aren't innately bad. And yeah, Blade Runner 2049, I really dug, and I shall revisit it. I have my recommendation, which is actually one,
and it's on HBO Max. Okay,
on HBO Max, and I almost did this recommendation a couple weeks ago, and I remember changing it to something.
Oh yeah, I do remember you saying yeah. You deleted this and recommended a book, Eric.
I did. A book.
What are you, some kind of reader?
Yes. No. My recommendation is The Descent, which is 2005 horror movie that I've mentioned for 16 years now, I guess, which is one of those things where how time, Matt. But this is one of my favorite movies of this millennium, this century, which is still true of horror movies. That it's just a real standout to me when people say, "Oh, it's a cool horror movie to watch." And I know that this one some people have seen, but a lot will not. And this wasn't Neil Marshall's debut. He did Dog Soldiers before this, but this movie I think got like a lot of attention for him. And the thing about this movie that I'm repeating things that people have been saying for 16 years, but this movie is kind of a 2-in-1 for you because it is a legit horror movie. But initially, it's about these 6 women who go on a cave, a spelunking trip together. I love the word spelunking.
Spelunking.
And at first, it is just an incredibly effective claustrophobic movie about these women going into this very dangerous situation where you just feel, and I'm not like a naturally claustrophobic person, but this movie has these parts where they have to get through these very tight situations, literally. And it's you feel it, and it's very it really gets you, it really grabs you. It's panic inducing, I say in a good way, and so effective. And that's before the crazy cave monsters show up, and then it's like a full horror movie as they have to fight a bunch of crazy cave monsters. And then it's really cool. Like it's about just these women having to fight the situation, and they're all not going to make it out, and what happens. But yeah, I just think it's such an effective 2-in-1 movie because even without those creatures, it was already working really strong.
It could have just been basically kind of like a survival thriller without the monsters, but the monsters make it even better. But also it's unique in that it's a female ensemble. Also, the setting itself is unique and scary on its own. Like, so just like you said, the close quarters claustrophobia elements of spelunking make for scary situations that don't need creepy crawlies, you know? So it has a lot of things going for it. And correct me if I am wrong. I haven't seen it as many times as you, but I have only seen one ending to this movie, and I know there are two.
There are two endings to this movie.
And I want people to only see the good ending, the one I saw, which is great. And if you know me, you know why it's great. But
it's the UK ending. The UK, which is the original ending, because this movie is set in America about American characters, but it was a British director with mostly British cast. And the UK had an ending. Guys, it might be the darker one. I'm just saying, if you know Matt. But yeah, two different endings. The funny thing is there's a sequel to this movie that's very disappointing. That only can work as a sequel to the ending of the American version.
Oh, that's so weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just fascinating. But yeah, there are two. I would say, here's the thing. It's funny that you didn't see this in the theater, Matt, right?
I don't think so.
If you did, you couldn't have, because you would have seen the US ending.
Yeah. Then I've never seen the US ending. Yeah.
Right. So I saw this in the theater a couple times. So I saw the US ending first. I still freaking love the movie. Then I thought it was fascinating that, there was this different ending that now I have seen. So I think, the movie is accessible right now on Prime. It's probably the US ending. And I still think you'll dig the movie, but you should look up the UK ending if that's what you're seeing.
While we're talking about Neil Marshall very quickly, and then we'll get into Big Trouble in Little China, I also recommend Doomsday, and I recommend Centurion.
I almost recommended Doomsday when I was thinking about The Descent. I haven't seen Centurion, but I love
Centurion and Doomsday are great. Also, you all have probably seen Neil Marshall's work if you haven't even seen these movies, because he directed two very famous episodes of Game of Thrones, the Battle of Blackwater and The Watchers on the Wall. So two big full action battle episodes of that show, as well as just other TV like Black Sails and Hannibal and stuff like that. So,
and Doomsday is a crazy movie, man.
It is a crazy movie. And Centurion is great too. It has Michael Fassbender and Dominic West in it, and Olga
Isn't Henry Cavill? Is Henry Cavill in that? Is Cavill in that? Am I making that up?
Is Henry Cavill? Wait, you're saying Henry Cavill?
Yes, I'm saying his name wrong, but yes,
Cavill. Yeah, I don't remember him in that movie, but
I'm making it up. I think
that's Dominic fine. West. I mean, he's British and he's muscly, so why not?
Exactly. In my dreams, he's in that movie.
Yeah, because you're like, I've got Dominic West. So I've got I've got Jigsaw,
the Governor. I've got
David
Morrissey,
Riz Ahmed, Magneto, and I've
got Bodhi from Rogue One.
Yeah. So might as well have Superman. Okay, let's get into Big Trouble in Little China. Maybe that woman walked out of the movie because she enjoys Little Trouble in Big China. Perhaps. She's like, this is all topsy-turvy in my eyes. So this movie, as I mentioned at the top of the episode, has so many, I think because I've seen it so many times, I've memorized it, and so many pull quotes from it. My God, first of all, it's all in the reflexes, which I saw that you actually almost did a nod to on Twitter, talking about the Hawkeye trailer when Hawkeye catches the Molotov cocktail and throws it right back.
Yes.
But
Jack Burton. Yeah.
If we're not back by dawn, call the president. This is going to take crackerjack timing, Wang. We really shook the pillars of heaven. There are just so many lines in this film that have just sort of crazy glued themselves to my insides.
That sounds
everybody
that
relax.
Sounds
what does he say? Everybody relax. I'm here. And even Gracie Law, at one point, is don't panic. It's just me, Gracie Law. Everyone has an entrance catchphrase in this movie.
Yeah. I want to say that. Don't panic. It's me, Eric Coleman.
Also, I just want to, if my last name was Law, I would become a lawyer. I would have no other choice. And I love Kim Cattrall in this movie. Was this the first movie I saw her in?
Depends on if you saw Police Academy.
Oh, no. I probably would have seen Police Academy before this. I didn't see it in the theater for sure, but yeah.
I had seen Porky's way too young.
So I did not see Porky's till later. I know.
I had seen her in Porky's for sure.
Where you could affectionately see the full Cattrall. But yeah.
Yeah.
So this movie, to everyone else's shame who reviewed it, has a 59% on Rotten Tomato. I'm going to start by saying a few things just about the genesis of this movie, and then something that Carpenter himself said about it, and then we'll dig in. One is that this movie's script started as a Western, which
period piece.
Many years later, when this movie actually got modernized into modern day San Francisco, you kind of understand also why Kurt Russell is doing a John Wayne. Yeah. Like he's doing a type of John Wayne impersonation that's not fully that, but it's there. He's doing John Wayne. He's playing a cowboy. And this story started as a cowboy wandering into sort of Wild West San Francisco and getting caught up with the Chinese immigrants in that era. Yeah. It still involved Chinese mysticism and sorcery and a lot of the things that were in the film.
And it still involved him and his buddy Wang, like those two characters.
And Lo Pan. Yeah. And Lo Pan. And so it got rewritten by somebody who didn't get actual proper screen credit. He gets I think an adapted credit that kind of pissed Carpenter off. Because
not just somebody, it's W.D. Richter, who wrote and directed Buckaroo Banzai.
Yes, so he rewrote the script in like 10 weeks, modernized everything, kept some of the buddy dynamics and some of the mysticism plot. But as for Jack Burton, Kurt Russell's character, very, very memorable hero character who's also, he's not stupid, Eric, but he's out of his element, he's out of his depth, and he's overconfident.
Yeah.
And so he has moments of bumbling. He has moments of completely lucking out and accidentally killing someone or accidentally saving his own ass. In that regard, he's also like Indiana Jones, because Indiana Jones gets by on skill and luck. Like it's a combination of both.
Indiana Jones without the like professor like knowledge background. Yeah.
But also, so Carpenter said in an interview a while ago that the story is about a sidekick who thinks he's the leading man. And it makes sense when you watch the movie, when all of a sudden Wang Chi, his friend, is like an expert fighter off screen.
Right.
Out of nowhere, he's fighting, and you're sort of seeing it through the eyes of Jack. And he's doing martial arts in the same way that these expert martial arts goons are doing. And we had no previous build up to this at all.
Essentially, Jack Burton is Katie in Shang-Chi if he was more centered in the movie.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so Carpenter said the film's about a sidekick, Jack Burton, who thinks he's the leading man. And according to Carpenter, the studio didn't understand that, didn't get it. And so that's why they made him write the opening scene, the in media res scene.
Yes.
Involving Egg Shen and the lawyer talking about Burton.
Let me tell you about Jack Burton is there because they wanted him presented as more of like a mythical character.
Yeah. Right. When in fact, you watch the rest of the movie and it plays exactly like Carpenter was saying in the regard that like, yeah, he knocks himself out for a huge part of an action sequence, you know?
Yes. He has that hysterical part rolling backwards in the wheelchair, screaming. Lots of very.
Meanwhile, Wang and Eddie are taking out these guards while he's sneaking around and
you never plugged anyone, Matt?
Yeah, you never plugged anyone, and yeah. So we also got to witness Jack murdering his first human being and having to play cool about it. Like, oh yeah, I've done this all the time. So it opens with him in his truck, the Pork Chop Express. He's a truck driver, and he is just jawing away on the CB. And I've always wanted this. This is obviously nothing that could ever be done about it, but I always thought it would be funny if at any point, especially maybe even at the end, although the end has a different stinger all of its own, you look down and his cord is not connected to the dash. Like he is, because already he's just screaming into the void, because it's like anyone listening out there on the Citizens Band, like anyone, this is what Jack Burton has to say. But it would be so much funnier if his radio was completely broken or like the cord wasn't connected and he's insane in some regard. So, and also because when you listen to what he's saying, it's comically bluster. It's nonsense.
Yeah, he is a legend in his own mind.
But it's nonsense. Like if you actually pull apart the phrases, none of it means anything.
Right.
It's just talking to hear himself talk, which is what we love about Jack Burton too.
It's a very fun character, and it's one of those things where you can kind of see that push pull, because he is a comical character who is definitely shown to be out of his wits, and like you said, gets literally knocked out in the middle of a fight, doesn't know what he's doing. You can see that they kind of had to do this acquiesce to the studio, because then he still gets his moments. He still kind of steps up a little bit, and he is the leading man. He is Kurt Russell, and so it's like he doesn't really get to be like, Kurt Russell's the supporting character in this movie, but it's still a very sort of fun thing. And we'll talk more as we continue on our journey with Kurt Russell, that he's what makes him a great leading man and an interesting leading man is he's very malleable. There's a lot of people who get stuck in types, and he's the tough guy, he's the romantic guy, he's the funny guy, and Kurt Russell can do it all, baby. So
he can also play the everyman.
Yes,
like if we're talking about some of his 90s movies, like that was a big part of that. So
and he can play a legit, just like badass.
He could be a Snake Plissken, or he could be like whatever the soldier's name in Soldier. I think his name was Soldier. So
Soldier.
I think it was a Soldier. And sometimes I like to play a game where it's like taking these action heroes or like action characters and putting them in a 2021 context and be like, where would they politically lean? And I'm like, and part of me is like, is Jack Burton Q? Like, would he be like full QAnon or something like that? Because I don't know. He seems the type. John McClane would not hold up. That's for sure. Let's see.
Probably not.
Okay. That opening scene with Egg Shen, played by so this movie has a great cast. Dennis Dun plays Wang Chi. Dennis Dun, who was all over the 80s, including a TV series that starred Gary Cole called Midnight Caller.
I just remember his name in a lot of things in the 80s.
And then he kind of stopped acting at the end of the millennium. But James Hong and Victor Wong, both in this movie, both awesome. James Hong is still around. James
in his 90s.
He's 92. He's a year older than Eastwood. And
a lot of people, especially this generation, will know him for his voiceover work, including in the Kung Fu Panda trilogy.
Yes. James Hong is awesome. Victor Wong also. Victor Wong was in this and The Golden Child, which opened about 5 months later, that Carpenter actively protested and complained about, like basically saying it's not just a coincidence that another Chinese sorcery movie is coming out at the same time.
When a big studio one that's like, when that's not done. Actually, and we should mention that Dennis Dun and Victor Wong would also work with Carpenter in Prince of Darkness, a movie that I love.
A movie that I still haven't seen. Remember, I haven't seen
it. My God, it's funny. Well, at some point
I own it now on Vudu just because it's there.
Okay. Well, we will watch it for this podcast.
And Victor Wong, sadly not with us anymore. He died in 2001. Wow. I'm looking now, September 12th, 2001, right? The day after September 9/11. Okay. But yeah, he has been in Golden Child, Prince of Darkness, like you said. Both he and Hong were in The Last Emperor.
Yep.
Which was a year later. And then, Three Ninjas, Mystery Date, like the Joy Luck Club, like so many things. He's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And Year of the Dragon, which, God, that was another favorite of mine when I was a kid. I don't think it's very good though. There's a Mickey Rourke, Michael Cimino movie.
I remember, Year of the Dragon is the one I was looking at. This movie, Big Trouble in Little China, and they were talking. There was a cast reunion about 5 years ago. There was like a screening, and some of the supporting cast did a Q&A after.
Oliver Stone wrote Year of the Dragon, and it came out a year before Big Trouble in Little China.
And what this article was mentioning was that Year of the Dragon got a lot of shit for being like exploitative and stereotypical and racist. I've never seen the movie, so I can't say whether I agree with that. But that a lot of the actors,
maybe that's why I loved it.
That's why you loved
it.
But the actors in this movie, and even though this movie still trades in like Chinese mysticism, but the actors in this movie like all said they were like, they had a ball making this movie, and that they felt like it was a great opportunity, and that especially compared to Year of the Dragon, which the studio had gotten a lot of flack for, like this movie they had like consultants on, and like we're trying to like not offend anyone, even though you could still say, well, they're trading in stereotypes to a degree. We talked about when we talked about Shang-Chi about like the sort of Fu Manchu and like that, like there's definitely obviously with Lo Pan, like he is like the classic like evil Asian villain with the long fingernails and the long beard. But this movie at least has a very sort of well-rounded cast of Asian characters
and
that get to have different
they're
facets
smart
of
and
personalities.
capable,
Yes.
and they're planning things whether Jack is going to go along with them or not.
Absolutely,
you know, like
absolutely.
they're rallying the troops, they're circling the wagons, whether or not, and Jack can come if he wants, but they're out to rub out the ancient evil in their neighborhood. You know what I mean? Like,
right. I should mention that Donald Lee, who plays Eddie, doesn't have a ton of credits, but he is part of the MCU. He was on the World Security Council in Avengers. He's one of the shadowy faces.
What?
He can always come back because he's not one of the ones who got killed in Winter Soldier.
Maitre D. Eddie?
Yeah.
Wow.
They brought back a couple of those guys. So Eddie at some point.
Oh my God. Is he married to Margot?
There's plenty of possibilities.
Is he still related to married to Kate Burton, no relation to Jack Burton?
No, I don't know. Kate Burton, who a lot of people would know as Meredith Grey's mother on Grey's Anatomy at these days.
Okay, so the opening scene with Egg Shen, it's someone who's trying to be his lawyer, and that guy is an actor too. I can't remember his
a
name.
very familiar character actor. Yeah, the guy in that opening scene.
Wasn't he even in the Hidden? I can't remember.
He's
Anyway.
in so many things, and I meant to look him up. Yeah.
Okay, so he's like, "Oh, do you believe in sorcery?" He's like, "Of course I do, because it's real." And then Egg does the electricity between his hands.
Yep.
I want to talk a little bit about the 80s electricity special effect and why it was the coolest fucking thing in the world. And like, it was the one effect in that era that looked great.
That wasn't a like physical on set effect, and yet they can pull it off. It
was like a digital post effect that looked amazing, and like whether it was Emperor Palpatine,
and I don't even think it was digital. However, they were doing it.
Like whether it was the dude in Misfits of Science,
right,
who like shot up everybody with his electricity while the Johnny B. Good song played. I'm just saying, like, if you had that power, that's why I loved the lightning character in this movie as a kid, because he was so cool. I was like, those other two of the three storms suck. They don't have electricity running through their hands and coursing through their eyes and being all cool. Like, this guy just twizzles swords, and this guy can get fat. Like, I don't like the three storms were awesome, but lightning stood above the two, like solidly above the two. Gold medal, maybe silver for Rain, and then the guy who expanded and exploded at the end because he was sad gets a bronze medal. Thunder. Okay,
as an aside, by the way, Jerry Harden, who played the lawyer at the beginning, he's in a million things, but what you and I know him best as is Deep Throat on the X-Files, Matt.
Oh yeah, but wasn't he in the Hidden?
I forgot to look for that part.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right. Okay. So Jack goes into Chinatown in San Francisco. He's dropping stuff off, but he spends the night there gambling with his friends, with Wang, who goes back. And I like this in the same way that I like Running Scared. The built-in friendship that feels real. It feels like these two actually are friends and they hang out together. Maybe there's a little prickliness. Maybe they don't see each other so often because Jack's a truck driver and just stops in every once in a while.
Right.
But like, I like their buddy nature. And I like that. The movie, from a story standpoint, is really strange. The way it moves, the way it introduces you to things, like we're thrown into things so quickly that we're like Jack Burton. So he becomes us in many of the situations, like, wait, what's happening? Why is this going on? And sometimes the explanations they give us aren't good enough even. So, but the movie itself is weird, where they're gambling, but then he's got to pick. He doesn't mention the entire night that he's picking up his new bride, who he's loved since a child, at the airport. Doesn't mention it once to Jack, who's supposedly his good friend. So then Jack gets, hears that. They go to the airport. Not before we get the bottle scene. What is your take, Eric? Was Wang trying to knock him out with that bottle, or it seems like he thought he could do it, like he could chop the bottle in half.
I think he wanted to chop it in half. Yeah.
All right. But then, so we see that Jack has Chekhov's reflexes, as it were, because that will come back. Then they go to the airport, and we're introduced to Gracie Law, who's there for other reasons. And we're introduced to Miao Yin. Is, I don't think she's got one line in the entire movie, but this is Wang's childhood love, who he's spent a lot of money bringing over, saving up all of his money. He owns the Dragon of the Blackpool restaurant, and he is bringing her over, and he's going to marry her.
I think she has like one or two lines, but also Susie Pie, who played her, was a Penthouse pet, which I only mentioned because a lot of playmates, like Playboy playmates, have like gone on to like, mainstream acting, but you don't hear it as much with Penthouse pets. So good for her.
Because what's her name from Candyman Day of the Dead was Playboy, right?
Yes, Donna D'Errico. Like Baywatch became kind of this funny thing where they had a reciprocal relationship with Playboy.
Well, them and WWE in the 90s too.
Yes.
So. Okay. Remember, like, when we were kids and you could just go into an airport and be a Lord of Death, Eric? Like,
yes, who I hope are related to the Lords of Hell from Adventures in Babysitting.
Maybe it's just like a sister city thing where it's like Chicago and San Francisco. So you could just be a full gang regalia walking through the airport with tons of weaponry.
I mean, we talked about My Girl 2, how, yes, we remember pre 9/11 when you has just, anyone could go up to the gate. You get through security to go to the gate. But these guys go a step further.
Well, I'm glad Veda Sultanfuss didn't visit San Francisco, because that's the real place where crazy things can happen in the airport.
True. Yeah, it's true.
Nothing crazy happened to her in Los Angeles, but if she were up there, she could have been nabbed by the Lords of Death, then sold into the White Tiger massage parlor, and then kidnapped by the Three Storms by David Lopan.
But hopefully Wang and Jack would have saved her.
And then before that, Jack would pose as a nerd, Eric.
He did pose as
he goes undercover as a nerd who honestly also could have been a serial killer, because he was all creepy. He was like, I like him fresh off the boat and young. And, I'm like, oh, God. Yeah. Henry Swanson. Which is funny because you mentioned how malleable and interchangeable and how great Kurt Russell is as an actor who can play many different roles and show off his many different skills as a thespian. But so can Jack Burton, apparently, because he can pull off the nerd really well on a
suddenly he's fleshing it.
Well, he's already doing a John Wayne impersonation, so obviously he's got a one-man Vegas show coming soon. I won't go into all of the things here because there's a lot of going there, retreating. But
and then the movie just sort of escalates. I mean, I guess the one thing we can say with the opening scene, which is funny because it was added, it sort of establishes earlier that this is going to involve like magic and powers. Because for Jack, it's like this crazy escalation of, they're at the airport, girl gets nabbed. Then they find themselves in the middle of a fight between two gangs, but like, people with swords and crazy stuff. But then the three mystical warriors show up.
Yeah. So they pull into an alleyway with his truck, and they sort of sit there and passively witness. And this is another thing, is that, there's a great long stretches of this movie where Jack Burton actively just sort of passively watches things. And this is one of them where, they witness a gang fight between, oh man, who are the good guys?
There's the Wing Kong and the, those are the bad guys, right? Al Long,
the Chang Sing and the Wing Kong.
Yeah.
So the Chang Sing are the good guys, the Wing Kong.
And the most prominent member of the Wing Kong is, if you watch 80s movies, especially action movies, you'll instantly recognize Al Long, who's most famous for Die Hard as the guy who takes the candy bar at one point.
Yeah, Uli. His name's Uli in that movie, and he was also in Lethal Weapon as the guy Mel Gibson kills with his legs.
And he's Genghis Khan in Bill and Ted. So he's a very, very familiar face to those of us who grew up in the 80s.
So what happened was the Wing Kong had the leaders of the Chang Sing assassinated, and this is the funeral going down an alley, but then the Wing Kong show up. But yeah, like you said, then the three storms show up, and not only do they have powers, but they have cool weapons but they're cool, but like, how effective are they? Like Thunder has these cool blades, fine. But then like Rain has these little back scratchers that kind of like shoot up in little claw things. I'm like, are those effective? And then Lightning, as much as I love him, and I've already talked about my adoration of Lightning, has these little hand blades that twirl around. What do you do with those? Like, he has to keep his hands like that the whole time. First of all, he can't bend his fingers at all. They don't seem very effective. Especially just use your Lightning, dude. Okay.
And I don't think it's officially been confirmed, but it's highly assumed that these guys influence Raiden in Mortal Kombat. Both, the hat and the electricity powers. It seems like there's got to be some correlation there, just as far as someone working on Mortal Kombat like this movie. And
yeah, I can see that. And and then we see Lo Pan's demon form out in the world, and he opens his mouth, blinds Jack with some sort of like energy beam, which the solution seems to be cupping really filthy San Francisco alleyway puddle water in your hand and splashing on your face.
Yes.
I would have rather been blind. But then, they go back to the restaurant and they sort it all out. Gracie Law shows up. And this is where we also sort of get like the fast talk. This movie also has fast dialogue, fast and clever, witty dialogue between its principal leads. Sort of a His Girl Friday flirtation between Jack and Gracie Law. And it's just all a lot of fun. And they decide they're going to go into the Wing Kong exchange.
And this was something Carpenter was, doing on purpose. He had this sort of Howard Hawks influence of the banter between especially Jack and Gracie being this. Like, I guess that's one of the things. It's like, there'll always be people who are like, oh, that's really, some of these lines are silly. It's like, what was the intention of the filmmaker, and the stylized dialogue here is intentionally so, and is like the pace they're speaking at.
But this is the first time after Jack experiences all this that he's really flustered and comes back and it's like, I need everyone to tell me what's happening.
Right.
And they only sort of half tell him. But once he decides that, that's the thing. Wang is going to get Miao Yin no matter what. Again, we're talking about the sidekick here and Jack Burton. He tells Jack, you don't have to go. You've done enough. And he's like, no, I'm going with you. What are you, crazy? Like, so again, Wang was always going. Whether or not Jack came was up to Jack. And that's the real sidekick aspect of him. But also he's at the same time puffing up his chest a little for Gracie Law because he's like, if we're not back in time by dawn, call the president. He's such a great character because he's full of shit, but knowingly so, right? Even at the end of the movie, when she seems like she really wants to make a go of this and like go with him in his truck, and he's like, you know what? I rub everyone the wrong way eventually. Like he's self-aware. He's been married multiple times because on the CB at the beginning, he's like, my last wife said this, meaning he's had more than one. I don't know. It's easy to call him sort of thick and stupid, but he's not, because part of his bravado is for almost entertainment value of everyone else. Like there's a class clown element to him.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, like you just mentioned the ending. So skipping ahead myself, it's like the end that's hysterical. Like with the aren't you going to give her a kiss? No, it's just it's a funny bit, and he's a funny character who's he's a buffoon, but he's not an idiot. It's he's a tough guy, but he's not. He's complicated, Matt. He's Jack Burton. He's everything.
Within Jack Burton, there are multitudes.
There are.
Okay. They go back, and this is, escalates and escalates. So Jack and Wang get trapped. They meet David Lopan, who is in his old form with some pretty good old makeup for the time. I never had a problem with that old makeup.
No, I think it looks
and
good.
I love basically Hong in this part as the old man and the way he speaks. Like, I think like shut up, Mr. Burton. You were not brought upon this world to get it. And my favorite line is actually Jack's, when one of my favorite comebacks for any villain monologue ever is in this movie, which is, "Are you crazy? Is that your problem?"
Yeah.
Like, I love that so much, because he's going on and on about like how he'll appease his demon god and he'll be made flesh and he'll marry Mao Yin and all this stuff. And he's like, "Oh, are you crazy? Is that your
right.
like that's one of my favorite retorts. I don't know how you can beat that. Like, it's like, oh, I get it. You're insane. Like, like that's it.
It's up there with Deacon Frost. You're an idiot.
You're an idiot. You know that's the reverse though. That's
Yes,
the
it is.
villain
The
getting
villain,
that's
yes.
sick burn on Blade. Because
It really
Blade
is.
never got over that, by the way.
No, he did not. That
He's like, maybe
motherfucker
I'm the
called me an idiot.
motherfucker trying to ice skate uphill.
Am I an idiot?
Am I? He
I know,
finally takes off his sunglasses and looks in the mirror, but there's no reflection because he's a vampire. Okay.
No. Yeah, Jack Burton has all these great retorts. When he sees that little flying creature and what the hell is that? Yeah, just a lot of very funny stuff throughout. And great gag. It's funny, I watched the trailers afterwards, and a great gag that I'm like, oh, it's in the trailer. That's too bad for people in 1986. But the gag when he opens the door and everyone's standing, like, all, when they're trying to like sneak out, and
he's like, we may
this...
be trapped. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, in this excursion, again, like we mentioned before, he murders somebody for the first time in his life.
Yes.
Like, they're tied to wheelchairs. He rolls down. He almost falls in the well. They escape, but then they also rescue. Margot, Gracie, and Eddie go to find them, and they get captured. So it's a whole thing, and they rescue them. There are female guards guarding the women, which I thought was just an interesting thing. And Gracie's hogtied for some reason.
Yeah,
I understand gagged because you can imagine her as a character constantly mouthing off and like complaining and yelling and just causing a pain for her captors. But the hog tying, I'm not sure what fetishistic aspect of it was a part of that. But yeah, man, there's flooding and gas and like booby traps. And right as they're leaving, there's a monster.
Yeah, there's a couple of monsters. Like, yeah, actual. Like I said, the escalation is like, yeah. Then there are just some freaking like just giant Sasquatches show up.
And then there's elements of this movie that also play like straight comedy. And I don't mean like wisecracking lines. I mean like, man, that the point at the end of the movie during the big final battle when Egg Shen and Lopan are like shooting each other with those beams, and it's like they're playing video games. Like even Egg Shen's thumbs are going like he's got a controller, and they're controlling those two giant armored warriors. Like that seems like it's something out of a Zucker Brothers movie. Like that feels like Spaceballs.
Well, no, I mean, I guess so, but also because it's funny because at first it's kind of a cool visual of like they're like sort of avatars, but then they definitely do that video game gag with like you said with his thumbs. But then it kind of reminded me of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 with the video game gag of like the I forget what the aliens are that are like clearly supposed to be kind of playing like a cabinet arcade game. Is the way they're controlling their ships. But also Kurt Russell was in that movie.
He was. He's the connector. No, but like there wasn't just that. Like even at the end, when Burton kills Lopan, Wang is out there running from Thunder, and you just see him go by the doorway. Thunder chases him, and then like furniture flies around.
Right.
Like that's a Looney Tunes sight gag. That's like so. there are these really broad comedic elements that work their way into this movie as sort of a goof, but they also still work because it's a crazy movie, Eric.
It is a crazy movie. We haven't talked. I mean, we mentioned that he's the director, but it's like, it is a John Carpenter movie, and it's just, Carpenter is such a fascinating director. Like, this is the second movie we've done of his. We did it In the Mouth of Madness, because, as you know, he's obviously considered like one of the masters of horror, which he is, and he's, you know, directed a couple of, you know, the best horror movies ever. But he didn't only do horror. Clearly, this one is not, and he definitely likes the Western aesthetics. They Live. Assault on Precinct 13, Vampires to some extent. There's a lot of his movies have that kind of like modern day Western thing.
Yeah, but you can argue too, Escape from New York, as far as Snake Plissken's character and just that.
Yeah, and that's not a horror movie. Yeah, that's a very Western movie.
And don't forget, he met Kurt Russell. Didn't he direct the Elvis?
Yes,
thing.
We're not doing all of Kurt Russell movies here, and as we said, we'll probably revisit some of these later. But it's like, yeah, this was their fourth movie together. Elvis, Escape from New York, They Live, The Thing, sorry, and then this one. They were longtime collaborators at this point, and it was interesting because he almost had he'd had his like kind of straightforward horror movies, but except for The Thing, that's not the stuff he was doing with Russell. He was doing sort of this other stuff, and Big Trouble in Little China is tonally, an outlier even for Carpenter. But yeah, I think it totally works. It's just, but it was sort of destined to be a cult movie, right? Like the fact that it was not well received when it opened. Like you watch it and you're like, yeah, this is not a mainstream movie, and this is destined to be a movie that people talk about and like enjoy on first video and then DVD and then a streaming service later.
He also directed a movie that doesn't get talked a lot about now as far as an 80s movie, which is Starman.
Yes.
Which became a TV series starring what's his name?
Robert Hayes?
No. From Brady movie.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Christopher Knight?
Daniel Barnes, right?
Christopher Daniel Barnes, that's right. Yeah. I only mention him because he lived in Raphael's building growing up, and he went to PS 87 with us. And
Raphael is a classmate of ours.
But I'm talking elementary school. So he went to PS 87 in New York. He was a grade above us, and he would play D&D with us. So that was how. And then he
played D&D with Spider-Man.
I did. With Johnny Bravo,
the voice of 90s Spider-Man. Yes.
But also, and then he booked the Starman TV series.
And Starman I saw for the first time a couple years ago, and I thought it was great.
It is great. All right, back to Big Trouble.
The other thing I wanted to mention about the final fight here is aesthetically, it cracks me up that it's kind of this like underground layer, but there's so much 80s neon. It looks like a mall. It looks like an 80s mall because it's almost like an escalator in the center, and then there's like a bunch of neon strips around it. I love it.
And it's, I can't speak at all to the authenticity of the lore, but they do spend what seems to be a lot of time, but whether it's Egg Shen talking about it or Egg Shen with Wang's uncle, as the sort of the two elders talking about Lo Pan and like the past, and like Egg under the underground talking about how earthquakes 1,000 years previously unleashed unnatural beings on the earth who caused havoc, and all these things, like they feel like they come from actual Chinese myth and lore. And the ceremony that, because we spend a lot of time with Egg and Wang and Jack and the good gang members down underneath Lo Pan's lair, heading up to them, fighting something that looks like a D&D beholder with many eyes, this little gooey ball, and then something that comes out of the wall that freaks Jack out. But also, so we spend a lot of time with the actual wedding, the ceremonies going on up above, with each of the three storms does a dance and a martial arts sort of expo. I think he calls I'm trying to think they survived the like the test of the burning blade, and they tamed the savage heart. Like all these things, it just seems like they're paying a lot of mind to this, that it would be rooted in something.
Right. I can't say for sure, although, like I said, I was reading this article about that reunion where they talked about how, for what it's worth, they had a consultant on this movie, especially because of Year of the Dragon having just gotten a lot of flack for another major studio.
And I feel like Carpenter's the kind of person who would want it to, even though this is a heightened pulp film, want it to be rooted in something authentic.
Right. I think so. You take, like a lot of movies, you take the roots of these real myths and you go from there. We say all this, we could be totally wrong. That's what it could be.
Like. They could have just made it all up. Okay,
make it all up with their minds. I also want to say it's funny. I mentioned Guardians 2, and there's a reason why Kurt Russell was like perfect casting to play Star-Lord's dad, because it's very easy to imagine a young Kurt Russell playing Star-Lord, and nowhere is that more apparent. And that he basically has the same joke when he goes, "You know what Jack Burton always said at a time like this?" And the guy goes, "Who?" "Me."
Yeah,
it's the same. It's the same gag.
Yeah,
like,
it's I think
I'm awesome. Yes, and I thought that was very funny because I'm like, that's why he's Star-Lord's dad, because he could be Star-Lord.
During that final fight, we mentioned he shoots his gun up in the air and gets hit on the head with rocks and knocks himself out briefly, but then spends the rest of the time in the fight trapped under an armored warrior because his boot knife stabbed him and he can't lift him off of himself. Right. Does he dispatch the villain in the end? Yes, he does it with his own skill.
They have their cake and eat it too, because he totally fucks up the first time he throws the knife on his own, and he like completely misses and hits the big symbol behind, but then at the moment of truth, he does an amazingly badass.
It was and I cannot stress this enough, all on the reflexes.
Yes, yeah,
and
it was indeed.
He kills Lopan, sends the statues tumbling domino style.
It turns out like that's the thing. Like Jack Burton is bad when he's like just got to do something on his own, but his reactions to things, that's
his reactions to things are funny and or lethal. So yeah, they can go either way. Then the three storms get taken out. Thunder seems to explode out of agony. They drop a statue on Lightning's head. Rain actually got killed beforehand by Wang. So actually, again, like Wang is a hero. He's fighting with all these awesome badasses in the temple, going toe-to-toe, flying around with Rain.
Right.
Which reminds me of a funny thing, as when Jack and Wang got back from the first alleyway altercation that involved so much, and Jack didn't know what to think. He literally said, and their friends were out there flying around on wires. Like, it was funny, like that he brought up like basically wire use in kung
how they
fu
would
movies.
Really do it. Yeah.
So that was funny to me. And then also a line that always made and still makes me laugh is when they look up, and it's also Wong's delivery, Victor Wong, which is like, "How'd you get up there?" And he's like, "Wasn't easy."
Right. That's a story for another time.
Which sounds just like a real throwaway thing. Like, how did he get up there? I don't know, but just write it in, because we don't have time to actually think about how he did.
Right. Look, if we had more time, we'd tell that story.
But I believe it. It wasn't easy. Sure. I don't need any more explanation. Yeah. I absolutely adore this film, even though I realize that it has a lot of odd shape, odd corners to it, and things, sort of almost sometimes contradictory elements that, and a story that never quite fully explains itself to the audience's satisfaction or Jack's satisfaction. But again, we're going along with Jack. So as long as Jack's okay about certain things, we can be too. And that's why I wanted to start this discussion with Carpenter's quote about what he considered the story to be about. Because I think once you do see the movie in that way, with Jack Burton being the sidekick who doesn't realize it's not his story, the movie almost really does fit together in a way like never before.
Yeah. No, I really do this movie too. You're an even bigger fan than I am, Matt. But yeah, like I said, I liked this movie as a kid for sure, but I kind of came to really appreciate it more as an adult. It's funny because a few years ago they announced that Dwayne Johnson was going to star in a new version of this that was initially said to be a remake, and there was a lot of fan outrage, and then they said, no, don't worry, it's a legacy sequel. And I saw that even when they were promoting Jungle Cruise, his producing partner got asked about it and said, oh, it's a tricky one to figure out, but they're still trying to do it. But of course, if they ever actually get it off the ground, if it's a legacy sequel and Dwayne Johnson's not playing Jack Burton, which is what they're basically promising everyone, then of course it's like, is Kurt Russell in the movie? Becomes the big question, because you have to have him in the movie.
Well,
but we'll see if
did
that
they have
happens.
did Hobbs and Mr. Nobody have any scenes together in the Fast franchise? I'm trying to think.
I don't think they have.
I think they just miss each other, right?
Maybe in Fate. Actually, I think I'm wrong. They did have scenes together in Fate, because that's the one where where Dom is not with the team, but Mr. Nobody comes. So I think they must have interacted in that movie a little.
All right. Well, there you go. They know each other. Okay.
They do know each other.
Yeah, I'd be all down for a Dwayne Johnson produced and infused Big Trouble in Little China. Yeah, but how do you do this now? Again, I don't consider, it's also not my place to consider, but a lot of the elements of this movie to be offensive now, going on 35 years later. But that's not to say that it's completely, innocent of, stereotypes and stuff like that.
No,
I think for the era, it treated this storyline better than
for
anyone could actually expect. But
and just by even though the main character is a white dude, the fact that it's surrounded by very prominent Asian characters who are not subservient, it was still very ahead of its time
and are smarter and more capable than he is.
Yes. So if they do a new one, of course that's gonna be a big part of it too. I'm 100% sure. Also, it's very funny because John Carpenter, notorious curmudgeon, notoriously basically says like, I'm cool with the remake if I get a check of anything, of any of his stuff. Like if I get a check, Oh,
I know. Well, that's why he and Wes Craven both would just put their names on things for money. Like, they would have nothing to do with.
And so it's funny because he has like a very cynical quote about them trying to do a new Big Trouble in Little China, where he's like, oh, I don't even think they care about Big Trouble in China. They just picked a name out of the hat to do a new Dwayne Johnson movie. I don't know if that's true. I don't think that necessarily is true. Whether it's Dwayne Johnson himself or his producing partner, someone probably is a big fan of Big Trouble in Little China. I just am always amused by John Carpenter, great filmmaker, but just loves to just be like whatever about everything. And that makes me laugh because they've talked about how they want him to give his blessing, which basically he'll always be truthful about and say, you get my blessing if you give me the money. So see what happens.
Man.
Oh, and then we have to mention, we referenced it, but the song, 80s movies.
Well, also the music in this is great too. Like the slow, creepy music that's like David Lohan's music inside his lair is incredible. Yeah,
so
I actually have it in my head right now.
Carpenter, and we must have mentioned this part on In Mouth Madness. Carpenter famously, unusually scored most of his own movies. And most of his movies have this very, notable like 80s synthesizer sound, which is very fun and kind of made a comeback or like a nostalgic, people have a lot of nostalgic love for. He has a lot of great kind of hero themes. I went to his concert a few years ago and it was really fun to hear him do all these themes with scenes projected. But this movie also has an 80s hallmark, which is the closing credit theme song, but it is performed by John Carpenter, a band only created for this movie. Why am I forgetting what they're called? Big Trouble soundtrack. But it's him. The band is comprised of him, Nick Castle, who played Michael Myers in the original Halloween, and Tommy Lee Wallace, who directed Halloween 3. So it's a super group, the Coupe de Villes. Please look up the music video for Big Trouble in Little China if you've never seen it. It's just so funny because this is the director of the movie, and I can't think of another case of having like the director of the movie and his pals singing and dancing the theme song of their own movie. I wish like Christopher Nolan did like Interstellar, did dancing around in one of his suits.
I also wanted to point out that Taika Waititi has cited this movie as an influence for Thor Ragnarok.
Yep, totally. He said that's like going for like the although it's funny because you talked about times when it almost became pure comedy, but Taika Waititi talking about a movie that is not a full comedy but has a big comedic tone to feel to it. Big Trouble was a big influence on Thor Ragnarok, and that's great in my book.
That is great. Big Trouble in Little China. So I wish John Carpenter could have made a better theme for Halloween. What a bust that was.
Well, he was just phoning it in.
Like something memorable, at least something iconic within the oeuvre of horror. Okay.
When I was in Orlando, staying at one of the hotels at Universal Orlando, they have a boat you can take to go to City Walk and to the parks. And when it's Halloween time, I got on the boat and they were playing the Halloween theme. The girl driving the boat, she had her sunglasses on, she looked really cool, and she's blasting the Halloween theme, and then it goes into the Saw theme. And I told her how much I enjoyed her
the Hello Zepp theme.
Yep, and she said that she was very happy that it was Halloween time and she could play that stuff. I was too, Matt. I was too.
I bet you were. I bet you were.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to have a Big Trouble in Little China Wing Kong exchange scare maze at Halloween Horror Nights.
I'm down. I mean, they could just do.
They got the monsters, and the sort of the hell of the upside down sinners. What was that with the skeletons were underwater and stuff like that? And,
that was cool. That was creepy.
I think they got some stuff to work with there. So that's next.
Unfortunately,
I know Disney
properties can't be at Universal Halloween Horror Nights. Damn it.
Well, then Disneyland itself will have to have get rid of Not So Spooky Halloween and just do a full-fledged horror, just Big Trouble Little China maze.
Not a full-fledged horror, just Big Trouble Little China.
That's fine. It could just go on Tom Sawyer Island.
It's our seasonal Big Trouble Little China time.
And then they just reskin the Haunted Mansion as Big Trouble.
Usually we do Nightmare Before Christmas, but this year we're doing Big Trouble Little China.
Don't panic, it's just me, Gracie Law.
No, that's all I want.
All right, Gracie Law? No, I know. Okay.
Oh, yeah, her too, but also the Haunted Mansion, Big Trouble in Little China.
Remember when Kurt Russell was a nerd? Okay, yes. Let's wrap this up. That was our discussion about Big Trouble in Little China, and next week we will be back with Tombstone, not the frozen pizza, Eric, not the frozen pizza, the movie starring Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer, Bill Paxton, Sam Elliott,
a lot of people.
So many people.
Michael Biehn. Save it for next week.
Michael Biehn. I'm going to list everybody in the movie. Powers Booth.
We'll name them all next week. Also on the World Security Council.
Stephen Lang.
Next week. You're the one who's up late. Next week.
All right. Everything is possible, but nothing is real. And Shockma.
Shockma.